Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Cooperative, a couple that loves to play board games.
And being innocent.
Almost.
Today we're doing a how to play video for
Almost Innocent.
This game is designed by Felipe Tali and illustrated by Satoshi Matsura. It is published by Colossal and BFF Games and it's coming to Kickstarter real soon, so check out the link down below.
Well, with that out of the way, should we head on over to the table and teach how to play the game?
We sure should. Let's go.
Well, now that we're at the table, before we get started, I just want to mention that what you see here today is a prototype. So things are maybe going to change, but you'll see that on the Kickstarter page when you go and check the game out. The last thing I'll say before we get into the how to play is that we'll be going through a prologue version of the game. The base game will come with its own variety of campaign scenarios, which you'll be able to discover on your own, given the chance that you get to play the game. Let's begin by setting up. For player setup, give each player a player screen, a player sheet, and a pen or pencil. Grab the scenario that you're interested in playing and go ahead and give it a read. Once you've read through your scenario, you can follow the setup below. You'll begin by choosing your level of difficulty. If it's your first time, it's recommended to play on easy. Then you'll deal one set of solution cards to each player. The solution cards that you're given are the answers for the player on your left. Mark down those answers on your player sheet with a letter S, indicating that they're the solution card. Set any remaining cards aside, as they'll not be used for this game.
This is also a good time to cross all the spaces where none of the clues are present on the board. Afterwards, you'll create a supply of investigation and almost innocent tokens based on the difficulty chosen in step 1.
You'll choose the first player, and now you're ready to begin the game.
This game is a cooperative deductive game with a progressive story in which you and your teammates will work together to prove your innocence. Now in this game, you'll be working together uncovering clues by asking the right question. The game will continue until the investigation tokens have run out or every player is confident with their answer and is ready to make the final guess. On your turn, you'll take an investigation token, assign it to a row or column, and ask one of the following questions regarding the placement. How many clues relate to my case? Or is my blank in this row or column? And a blank can refer to your victim, your piece of evidence, your crime, your scene, or your offender. Now all players answer the stated questions for the player on their left. As everyone answers the question, you'll take notes for your clues and begin deducing where your clues may be on the board. Let's take a look at an example. I'll ask, how many of my clues are in column C? Now everyone at the table will give the answers to the question on the player to their left. Now what I learned from this question is that 2 of my clues are in column C. I'll circle the number to indicate that it was the how many clues question that was asked for this column. And then write down 2 in the magnifying glass to denote that there's 2 of my clues in this column. As there's only 2 clues left in this column, I now know my victim and my crime.
Let's quickly talk about some tips that you might find helpful while playing the game. Each solution will only have one type of card. For example, you'll only ever get one victim. So if you believe you know who your victim is, you're able to cross off all other victims on your player sheet. Sometimes this will help you figure out your other solutions based on the clues and the questions that have already been asked. And remember that each clue is independent of one another. So you may have multiple clues on the board, but it's important to consider each of them individually.
Now one of the key rules is that you can only ask one question per column and row. So you're not able to, for example, say, is my victim in this column when you already know that you have a couple of clues in that column from the question before. And that is simply where the heart of the puzzle lies. You'll have to ask strategic questions in order to give players information, but also obtain information for yourself in order to deduce where your set of clues can be. Now, once everyone's answered that specific question, you're now ready to move on to the next player who will choose an investigation token and place it around the board asking a new question for everyone to answer. Now you'll keep doing this until all the investigation tokens either run out or every player is ready to make their final guess.
Once either of these things happen, game end triggers, and players will take turns solving their combination of clues. Starting with the player on the left of the last active player, or the person who investigated last, you'll begin by announcing your victims one by one. The player to your right will either confirm or deny. In the case that they confirm, you can move on to the next player's guess. In the case that they deny and you guess incorrectly, you'll have to discard one of your almost innocent tokens. In the instance that you have no almost innocent tokens left, you'll immediately lose the game. You'll continue until all players have correctly guessed their victim, and now you're ready to move on to the next set of clues. If all combinations have been solved, you win the game! Congratulations on your successful feat! You're now ready to face the next scenario.
Now what we've shown you today is just the prologue. Throughout the campaign, new modules will be uncovered in each of the scenarios, changing the gameplay slightly. So now we'll simply go over a few examples of what those modules may look like in the real game. One of the modules is a limited question type. By default, you're able to ask either of the two questions of how many clues or is my victim, let's say, in this row. But some scenarios limit the amount of investigation tokens you're able to use. For example, you may only use 8 how many clues are in this section, and then 3 which of these is in this row or column. And that adds a layer of complexity to make it a little bit tougher and more challenging for the game. Another example is player abilities. Players will receive cards at the beginning of the game that will give them an additional ability they can take throughout the game. Here, for example, is the Sage. Once, anytime in the game, you can pick one player, and this can be yourself. This player will draw 3 cards from the solution card stacks in any combination. Obviously, these 3 solutions are not in the game, and the player can cross them off on their note-taking grid. Then, that player will choose one of those cards and show them to the other players. Those players can also cross off that card, now knowing that it is not in this game.
And the last example we'll show you is called a Malicious Mouse. During setup, you'll place the mouse token in the center of the grid. At the end of each player's turn, they'll roll a die, and depending on the face value, you'll move the mouse accordingly. In the instance that the mouse is on an edge section, you'll move the mouse onto the opposite side of the board like this. The mouse provides an additional obstacle for you to work around. If you want to ask a question in the specific row and columns that the mouse is in, you'll have to pay an additional investigation token. And those are just a few examples of the modules that you'll encounter during your campaign. And that's it! Thanks so much for watching our How to Play video. We hope you enjoyed.
And if you like the game and like what you saw, make sure to check out the Kickstarter or learn about the game in the links down below.
Until next time though, this is us trying to maintain our innocence.
Innocence.
Oh. Bye!